Brought to you by...
The vengeful spirit is a trope that so many horror films lean on for an antagonistic force to torment their groups of unsuspecting protagonists. However, some utilize this concept better than others, even if they don't aim to break new ground with the idea. Hello friends, and welcome back to ETF. Here's an unpopular opinion. I don't hate the Gallows, but I can see why a lot of others do. We open on the home video handycam footage of a play being performed, capturing the horrific accidental hanging of a young student. This sets the tone of how this film looks to be presented, in basic POV found footage style, which I do feel was captured in a very authentic way, and felt like a real fault captured on camera. The idea being that we are being shown this through archived evidence footage of Nebraska's Beatrice Police Department. However, despite the efforts to feel authentic, this is a film, pure and simple. The cool thing here is that this concept showcases a supernatural slasher, which we don't see all that often within the found footage presentation. Yes, our antagonist force is a vengeful spirit, but the way they present this lore and backstory almost suggests a horror figure like Jason or Michael Myers. They utilize this hangman character very sparingly and effectively throughout the film, only showcasing him as this imposing silhouette in a few brief moments. His look is both eerie and imposing, and works well with the overall theme that the film is putting forward. Our performers here are not top of the class. They do a decent enough job with what they are working with. However, they do overact at certain moments here and there. Our camera operator is somewhat of a standard douchebag jock friend of one of our protagonists, which does make the experience a bit tough to muscle through, which in my opinion doesn't do much for his likability. It sets us up for a character that remains completely unlikable for the entire film. In my opinion, the camera operator of a found footage film should be somewhat likable and relatable, if not the most likable and relatable, considering you are watching the movie through his point of view. We shouldn't set him up early on to be a complete piece of shit. It's the same reason that something like The House in Sherwood is so utterly unenjoyable. The interesting thing I found was that our camera operator character at one point starts to do these small interview moments with some of the parents of the actors in the play, talking about the incident with the original cast. It suddenly feels like he's taking documenting this show very seriously, which seems somewhat out of character. But then it doesn't happen again. I guess you could chalk it up to a random act of curiosity, which quickly fades. However, I also find it strange that these people would be so willing to talk about it, especially the woman who was in the original play. Visually, there's nothing special about this one. It's pretty basic by found footage standards. They do make some effort to set up some interesting scare moments throughout, early on, that pay off later in the narrative. For example, the whole thing with the stage ropes, which I found pretty cool. There are things that make no fucking sense, like the night vision app for your phone. That's not how these things work. This one is by no means perfect. It uses a lot of cliche elements, like the group getting locked into the school by supernatural means. There are some interesting ideas worked in here. One that I specifically liked was the way the kids discover these hidden, forgotten halls in the back of the school's file room that lead them to some type of storage room where an old TV plays an old newsreel of the original accident. It's a little ham-fisted, but I thought it was visually cool. This moment brought a somewhat otherworldly element, like something we could have seen in Grave Encounters. The whole mysterious halls leading to God knows where It makes you wonder if that hall really exists within the building, or if it appeared just for our characters. I won't lie, a large amount of the film diverges into our characters losing their fucking minds and falling into screaming matches as shit starts to hit the fan. But that is also somewhat realistic to how people would react when faced with something they can't possibly understand. There's also the element that our killer ghost Charlie was supposed to play the hangman in the play in 1993, but at the last minute was thrust into the lead, and as a result, he lost his life. Now, as a vengeful spirit, he's taking up the role that he was originally meant to play. Not super deep, but it's somewhat cool. Our kills are nothing special, though I did really like the character Cassidy starting to develop these rope burns around her neck, which was a really nice visual touch, getting worse and worse until her inevitable demise. They also have a lot of fun throughout with having the camera see one thing, then when it turns back, things in the frame have changed. The climax does get really cheesy with them being essentially cornered on the stage and Reese deciding to start reciting his lines from the play. In a situation like this, that would be the furthest fucking thing from your mind. I think they could have come up with a far better way to convey the message. However, the editing during this scene is really cool, intercutting the hangman as these glitches that keep distorting in and out of the frame. Then that tacked on stinger with the cops at the end felt pretty fucking unnecessary. But I guess it does bring us closure to the woman from the original play and give us one last reveal that she is Piper's mother. Though it all feels very Bagul to me. All things considered, I'm gonna give The Gallows a C+. Out of all the found footage schlock that is dished out year after year, I honestly do think this is one that is somewhat enjoyable for what it is. It makes an effort to at least try to do something new and a little bit different with its narrative. I mean, how many horror films do you see revolving around the theater? I don't expect anyone else to agree with me, given how many others have reviewed this film negatively. If you're willing, maybe give it another chance.